Hello, and thank you for joining me in Annie Stories. In this clip, I'll be reading The Tinderbox by Hans Christian Andersen. Join me in this reading to discover what magical properties this tinderbox holds. Without further ado, let's get started. The Tinderbox. A soldier came marching along the high road. 1, 2, 1, 2. He had his knapsack on his back and his sword at his side, for he had been to the wars, and he was on his way home now. He met an old witch on the road. She was so ugly. Her lower lip hung right down onto her chin. She said, "Good evening, soldier. What a nice sword you've got, and such a big knapsack. You are a real soldier. You shall have as much money as ever you like." "Thank you kindly, you old witch," said the soldier. "Do you see that big tree?" said the witch, pointing to a tree close by. "It is hollow inside. Climb up to the top, and you will see a hole into which you can let yourself down, right down under the tree. I will tie a rope round your waist so that I can haul you up again when you call." "What am I to do under the tree?" asked the soldier. "Fetch money," said the witch. "You must know that when you get down to the bottom of the tree, you will find yourself in a wide passage. It's quite light there, for there are over 100 blazing lamps. You will see 3 doors which you can open, for the keys are there. If you go into the first room, you will see a big box in the middle of the floor. A dog is sitting on top of it, and he has eyes as big as saucers. But you needn't mind that. I will give you my blue checkered apron, which you can spread out on the floor. Then go quickly forward, take up the dog and put him on my apron. Open the box and take out as much money as ever you like. It is all copper. But if you like silver better, go into the next room. There you will find a dog with eyes as big as millstones, but never mind that. Put him on my apron and take the money. If you prefer gold, you can have it too, and as much as you can carry if you go into the 3rd room. But the dog sitting on that box has eyes as big as the round tower. He is a dog indeed, as you may imagine, but don't let it trouble you. You only have to put him onto my apron, and then he won't hurt you. And you can take as much gold out of the box as you like." "That's not so bad," said the soldier. "But what am I to give you, old witch? For you'll want something, I'll be bound." "No," said the witch, "not a single penny do I want. I only want you to bring me an old tinderbox that my grandmother forgot the last time she was down there." "Well, tie the rope round my waist," said the soldier. "Here it is," said the witch, "and here is my blue checkered apron." Then the soldier climbed up the tree, let himself slide down the hollow trunk, and found himself, as the witch had said, in the wide passage where the many 100 lamps were burning. Now he opened the first door. Ugh! There sat the dog with eyes as big as saucers staring at him. "You are a nice fellow," said the soldier, as he put him onto the witch's apron, and took out as many pennies as he could cram into his pockets. Then he shut the box and put the dog on the top of it again, and went into the next room. Hello! There sat the dog with eyes as big as millstones. "You shouldn't stare at me so hard. You might get a pain in your eyes." Then he put the dog on the apron, but when he saw all the silver in the box, he threw away all the coppers and stuffed his pockets and his knapsack with silver. Then he went on into the 3rd room. Oh, how horrible! That dog really has 2 eyes as big as the round tower, and they rolled round and round like wheels. "Good evening," said the soldier, saluting, for he had never seen such a dog in his life. But after looking at him for a bit, he thought, "That will do." and then he lifted him down onto the apron and opened the chest. Preserve us! What a lot of gold! He could buy the whole of Copenhagen with it, and all the sugar pigs from the cake woman, all the tin soldiers, whips and rocking horses in the world. That was money indeed. Now the soldier threw away all the silver he had filled his pockets and knapsack with, and put gold in its place. Yes, he crammed all his pockets, his knapsack, his cap, and his boots, so full that he could hardly walk. Now he really had got a lot of money. He put the dog back onto the box, shut the door, and shouted up through the tree, "Haul me up, you old witch! Have you the tinderbox?" "Oh, to be sure," said the soldier. "I had quite forgotten it." And he went back to fetch it. The witch hauled him up, and there he was, standing on the high road again, with his pockets, boots, knapsack, and cap full of gold. "What do you want the tinderbox for?" asked the soldier. "That's no business of yours," said the witch. "You've got the money. Give me the tinderbox." "Rubbish," said the soldier. "Tell me directly what you want with it, or I will draw my sword and cut off your head." "I won't," said the witch. Then the soldier cut off her head. There she lay. But he tied all the money up in her apron, slung it on his back like a pack, put the tinderbox in his pocket, and marched off to the town. It was a beautiful town, and he went straight to the finest hotel, ordered the grandest rooms and all the food he liked best, because he was a rich man, now that he had so much money. Certainly the servant who had to clean his boots thought they were very funny old things for such a rich gentleman, but he had not had time yet to buy any new ones. The next day he bought new boots and fine clothes. The soldier now became a fine gentleman, and the people told him all about the grand things in the town, and about their king, and what a lovely princess his daughter was. "Where can she be seen?" asked the soldier. "You can't see her at all," they all said. "She lives in a great copper castle, surrounded with walls and towers. Nobody but the king dare go in and out, for it has been prophesied that she will marry a common soldier, and the king doesn't like that." "I should like to see her well enough," thought the soldier, but there was no way of getting leave for that. He now led a merry life, went to theaters, drove about in the king's park, and gave away a lot of money to poor people, which was very nice of him, for he remembered how disagreeable it used to be not to have a penny in his pocket. Now he was rich, wore fine clothes, and had a great many friends, who all said what a nice fellow he was, a thorough gentleman, and he liked to be told that. But as he went on spending money every day, and his store was never renewed, he at last found himself with only 2 pence left. Then he was obliged to move out of his fine rooms. He had to take a tiny little attic up under the roof, clean his own boots, and mend them himself with a darning needle. None of his friends went to see him because there were far too many stairs. One dark evening, when he had not even enough money to buy a candle with, he suddenly remembered that there was a little bit in the old tinder box he had brought out of the hollow tree when the witch helped him down. He got out the tinder box with the candle end in it and struck fire, but as the sparks flew out from the flint, the door burst open, and the dog with eyes as big as saucers, which he had seen down under the tree, stood before him and said, "What does my lord command?" "By heaven," said the soldier, "this is a nice kind of tinder box, if I can get whatever I want like this." "Get me some money," he said to the dog, and away it went. It was back in a twinkling with a big bag full of pennies in its mouth. Now the soldier saw what a treasure he had in the tinder box. If he struck once, the dog which sat on the box of copper came. If he struck twice, the dog on the silver box came, and if he struck 3 times, the one from the box of gold. He now moved down to the grand rooms and got his fine clothes again, and then all his friends knew him once more and liked him as much as ever. Then he suddenly began to think, after all, it's a curious thing that no man can get a sight of the princess. Everyone says she is so beautiful, but what is the good of that when she always has to be shut up in that big copper palace with all the towers? Can I not somehow manage to see her? Where is my tinderbox? Then he struck the flint, and whisk came the dog with eyes as big as saucers. It certainly is the middle of the night, said the soldier, but I am very anxious to see the princess, if only for a single moment. The dog was out of the door in an instant, and before the soldier had time to think about it, he was back again with the princess. There she was, fast asleep on the dog's back, and she was so lovely that anybody could see that she must be a real princess. The soldier could not help it, but he was obliged to kiss her, for he was a true soldier. Then the dog ran back again with the princess, but in the morning, when the king and queen were having breakfast, the princess said that she had had such a wonderful dream about a dog and a soldier. She had ridden on the dog's back, and the soldier had kissed her. "That's a pretty tale," said the queen. After this, an old lady-in-waiting had to sit by her bed at night to see if this was really a dream or what it could be. The soldier longed so intensely to see the princess again that at night the dog came to fetch her. He took her up and ran off with her as fast as he could, but the old lady-in-waiting put on her galoshes and ran just as fast behind them. When she saw that they disappeared into a large house, she thought, now, I know where it is, and made a big cross with chalk on the gate. Then she went home and lay down, and presently the dog came back too, with the princess. When he saw that there was a cross on the gate, he took a bit of chalk too, and made crosses on all the gates in the town. Now this was very clever of him, for the lady-in-waiting could not possibly find the gate when there were crosses on all the gates. Early next morning, the king, the queen, the lady-in-waiting, and all the court officials went to see where the princess had been. "There it is," said the king, when he saw the first door with a cross on it. "No, my dear husband, it is there," said the queen, who saw another door with a cross on it. "But there is one, and there is another," they all cried out. They soon saw that it was hopeless to try and find it. Now the queen was a very clever woman. She knew more than how to drive a chariot. She took her big gold scissors and cut up a large piece of silk into small pieces and made a pretty little bag, which she filled with fine grains of buckwheat. She then tied it on the back of the princess, and when that was done, she cut a little hole in the bag so that the grains could drop out all the way wherever the princess went. At night, the dog came again, took the princess on his back, and ran off with her to the soldier, who was so fond of her that he longed to be a prince, so that he might have her for his wife. The dog never noticed how the grain dropped out all along the road from the palace to the soldier's window, where he ran up the wall with the princess. In the morning, the king and the queen easily saw where their daughter had been, and they seized the soldier and threw him into the dungeons. There he lay. Oh, how dark and tiresome it was! And then one day they said to him, "Tomorrow you are to be hanged." It was not amusing to be told that, especially as he had left his tinderbox behind him at the hotel. In the morning, he could see through the bars in the little window that the people were hurrying out of the town to see him hanged. He heard the drums and saw the soldiers marching along. All the world was going. Among them was a shoemaker's boy in his leather apron and slippers. He was in such a hurry that he lost one of his slippers, and it fell close under the soldier's window, where he was peeping out through the bars. "I say, you boy, don't be in such a hurry," said the soldier to him. "Nothing will happen till I get there. But if you will run to the house where I used to live and fetch my tinderbox, you shall have a penny. You must put your best foot foremost." The boy was only too glad to have the penny, and tore off to get the tinderbox, gave it to the soldier, and, yes, now we shall hear. Outside the town, a high scaffold had been raised, and soldiers were drawn up round about it, as well as crowds of the town people. The king and the queen sat upon a beautiful throne exactly opposite the judge and all the counselors. The soldier mounted the ladder, but when they were about to put the rope round his neck, he said that before undergoing his punishment, a criminal was always allowed the gratification of a harmless wish, and he wished very much to smoke a pipe, as it would be his last pipe in this world. The king would not deny him this, so the soldier took out his tinderbox and struck fire, once, twice, 3 times, and there were all the dogs, the one with eyes like saucers, the one with eyes like millstones, and the one whose eyes were as big as the round tower. "Help me! Save me from being hanged!" cried the soldier. And then the dogs rushed at the soldiers and the counselors. They took one by the legs and another by the nose, and threw them up many fathoms into the air. And when they fell down, they were broken all to pieces. "I won't!" cried the king, but the biggest dog took both him and the queen and threw them after all the others. Then the soldiers became alarmed, and the people shouted, "Oh, good soldier, you shall be our king and marry the beautiful princess." Then they conducted the soldier to the king's chariot, and all 3 dogs danced along in front of him and shouted, "Hurrah!" The boys all put their fingers in their mouths and whistled, and the soldiers presented arms. The princess came out of the copper palace and became queen, which pleased her very much. The wedding took place in a week, and the dogs all had seats at the table, where they sat staring with all their eyes. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this reading, do give it a like and share it with your friends and family. Thanks in advance for all your support, and see you again tomorrow.